Alright, the game is Napoleon Against Russia. This happens to be the Battle of Smolensk from the Library of Napoleonic Battles series. It's Kevin Zucker, who's been doing these for a long time. These are all operational level Napoleonic battles. You can see Smolensk there underneath all the counters in the middle of the board. All the red cubes on there are entry hexes into the city itself. The city's actually surrounded by a wall, which you can see are these sort of fort-like wall structures. Anywhere there's no gate, units can't attack each other. Artillery from within the city can bombard to the outside, but these hex sides are otherwise treated like river hexes, uncrossable river hexes. So these Russian units here are unassailable by the Polish 5th Corps units outside the walls. Here you can see and there's Poniatowski and his 5th Corps. The Poles have managed to push their way into the city. There's a gate hex here, which is this little gray square. They push their way into the city through the suburbs and are going to try and exploit that opening to continue pushing the Russians back into the city. This particular battle starts, I'm doing the day of battle scenario. You can actually do, with most of these Zucker designs, you can do a approach to battle scenario, which is where you get to do all the maneuvering. Hence the pull out here, hence the size of the map, and get a better sense of it, and maybe less glare from a distance. But you can see it's like super long in the east-west directions, not so much north-south directions. But the approach to battle would allow you to do all of the maneuvering that Napoleon's forces did on their approach to Smolensk, as well as more of the Second Army, Russian Second Army involvement. You can see this big long line of units running along this road here. This is Bagration's Second Army, and they are all under march orders in this scenario to exit off the map at that hex there where the green arrow is. So they're essentially useless. They can't. The march order cannot be canceled except through play of a specific card. There are cards in this which are optional. I like using them because they can offer some little, nudges in one direction or another for each side in terms of capabilities. So currently, the French are doing an assault on the city. Historically, Napoleon took too long to bring his army up, and the Russians had reinforced the city, so he didn't have a good way of getting across the river to get around them. There are some ford hexes. There's one here, and let's see, there's a bridge up there. I thought there was a closer ford hex along this side too, but maybe not. Yeah, I guess not. But I mean, Napoleon does have pontoon bridges he could deploy, but the Russian army, and this is Barclay's First Army here, that's filtering into the city and arrayed in the hills around it. He had deployed his forces, and Napoleon was unable to get across the river and try and take the city from the other side. So he ended up doing a frontal assault against the walls. There's a fortress here that functions as a gateway into the city. And so he had either Nays or Davout's, I forget. I think it was probably Ney, who was arrayed over here at the start of the battle. Try and force his way through there, and Poniatowski try and force his way through on that side, with some significant losses. So it wasn't, things didn't work out very well for Napoleon. Fortunately for him, the Russians essentially gave up the city after those initial fights on whatever day it was, the 17th of August. They ended up burning the city and leaving it that night, much to the dismay of some of the Russian officers. So, hence the name of this, or the subtitle of this scenario, which is a battle postponed. It wasn't the decisive confrontation that Napoleon was hoping for. That wouldn't come until later on, and as much as you could call Borodino the decisive battle, it wasn't very decisive either, but it was the biggest battle ever fought. So there is that. But currently, Napoleon's having, I think, a little more success than they did historically, with Poniatowski managing to punch through here. I haven't done the combats yet for some of Davout's First Corps troops that are going to push up against Doktorov and his Sixth Corps Russian units. All of the Smolensk hexes inside the walls are considered chateaus, which double any two infantry units, double the strength points of any two infantry units inside. So it's helped the Russians considerably, but they're largely facing off against some very beefy French units, and so you can get some 1-to-1 or 1-to-1.5 ratios, depending on how many Russians I'm able to stack inside. And on that CRT, I've had pretty good luck so far getting DR results, which in chateaus, in terms of Smolensk, within the city, are turned into shock attacks. But the high morale of the French units helps me out on the shock combat table as well. If you can get, especially if you roll high on your modifier roll, you can usually get a 6 for the French, compared to like a 3 or something for the Russians. So if you can get the French up into a 6 level, it's pretty difficult for the Russians to hold that off. Even for a 4 or 5, you've got very good odds of getting a defender retreat result inside the city, which is where the Russians would hope to stymie the French. Actually, the biggest problem right now for the French is that I haven't been able to get Ney initiative to get him in command. He's outside Napoleon's command range. Napoleon's down here, and he started even further away. I moved him. Napoleon starts down here, and I've been spinning his commands to keep Davout in command. Ney has been struggling, and the problem is Ney has a high initiative. I keep rolling 6s on his initiative roll, which when you fail for your officer, he blows the chance for you to roll initiative on your individual combat units. So Ney's just been paralyzed sitting over here. He should be basically manhandling these units of Doktorov's Sixth Corps out of the suburbs here and back into the city, but he hasn't been able to move. So that's all these guys up here too. I mean, Ney has a lot of guys under his command that should be pounding away at the Russian position, or even trying to dash down here to this bridge and cross the river. That's probably too far out of the way, but I have, with the Russian cav, put some speed bumps out there in case the French get frisky, or in case they try and do the pontoon trains and cross, somewhere closer. The Russians can harass them. Otherwise, Doktorov started in the city, and then I moved Bogovit's 2 Corps guys in. They're the ones that just got pushed back out of this entry hex by Poniatowski's poles. Got the Russian Guard up here, and Tuchkov's 3rd Corps making their way slowly. They were also out of command this turn. Or was it the rest of 2 Corps? Yeah, it was the rest of 2 Corps. I think, with Barclay, I thought I put all of 2 Corps in command. Barclay. I may have put all of 4th Corps in command and just the 4th Division of Bogowitz. Barclay's not very good. He only has 1 command point, meaning he can only put either 1 officer and all of that officer's subordinates in command, or he can put 1 officer and all that officer's subordinates in command, plus 1 division of any other corps that he wants. So pretty limited. Even, you know, he's got plenty of officers around him that are in range, but they all have to, except for one of them, the others all have to roll initiative to make their command rolls. So we'll see how it goes. The thing about these Zucker games, and I have all of his Library of Napoleonic Battles titles, is that they're very detailed. I love the you know, the fact that he does like the different colored counters. You know, for the Polish Poniatowski's Polish Corps, they're all red, which is cool. So, you know, depending on the nationality of the troops, that determines the colors of the counters. So the French have this kind of rainbow of different colors, but all very meticulously researched. All of his games come with what he calls it's basically a playbook, but he calls it the study folder, which has all your scenario rules, but then historical notes for each of the battles. So I just love the passion that he puts into his games. The design itself, the system itself, is actually fairly light. It's a fairly simple and light system. You know, I don't know how well it functions as a detailed simulation. The rules have 22 pages of rules, so and, you know, not super dense, so plenty of examples and pictures and stuff like that. So the rules are very easily digested. You know, not super complicated movement, not super complicated cav charges. You know, certainly nothing like the Levitai system, which is, you know, your very complex grand tactical. For one thing, this is operational, so everything's a little more abstracted in terms of combat, but it's a simple CRT. It's got the added shock CRT if you generate shock combat results. Movement's simple. Just it's nice when you want to dive into a historical Napoleonic campaign at the operational level, but don't want to, you know, have your calculator out calculating combat strength point percentages a la Levitai. So I enjoy it when I get a hankering for Napoleonics, but don't have the fortitude to set up you know, a 4-map Levitai behemoth. These are great to bust out, especially because, I mean, he covers so much of the Napoleonic era. I mean, this just covers just about anything you could want. And the 4 Lost Battles is not technically part of the Library of Napoleonic Battles, but it is a Zucker OSG design, one of the earlier ones, that has different battles from the Dresden campaign. But I mean, you know, these are battles that are not, you're not going to find, you know, Levitai tactical treatments of these. You might find some of them in, you know, some lesser known magazine game or something, but just about every Napoleonic era battle that you could want, from the early era to the later eras. You know, here you've got some famous ones: Aspern, Essling, Wagram, and you've got the whole box dedicated just to Leipzig, and then you know, like late French operational period here, and you know, these are lesser known battles there. I mean, those are no major Napoleonic Battles. And then the missing one is obviously the Russian invasion. Here you've got your Quatre-Bras, Ligny, Waterloo, Wavre. I think there's like an expansion to that too that I don't have. Then you've got some of the battles in Spain, and then the most recent one, Wars of Liberation. You got Lutzen here, Luckau. So, and then there's the classic Napoleon at Bay. So there are some more different scale battles that Zucker has done. He also has done, he did some for Clash of Arms too. The names of those are escaping me at the moment. I don't own them, but I know Callendale has done some treatments of those. So if you want to see some of Zucker's other more complex designs, he also did, where is it? The 1809 Napoleon's Danube campaign. So it was the old Victory Games title. And that, I believe, is, again, another operational treatment, but I think a little more complex than what he's done for the Library of Napoleonic Battles series. So just lots of great choices of different Napoleonic campaigns, especially, I like that option of being able to study a particular Napoleonic campaign that I don't really know anything about. I know about your major campaign, the 100 Days, and even like the Danube campaign or something like that. But the outside of the Russian campaign, like I don't know anything about any of the Russian battles that he fought except Borodino. So this is kind of cool. And I just at a convention I just was at a couple weeks ago, we played the big 4-map La Bataille de la Moskva, which is the La Bataille treatment of Borodino. And so that got me excited to play some Napoleonic Russian action. So hence I busted this out. So I don't know if I'll play all the battles in here, if I'll just mess around with Smolensk. I'll just kind of see where the whims of wargaming take me.